If you could build a starship right now, capable of reaching a nearby star system, there's a question almost nobody asks before launching it. Would it actually be worth it? Not morally, not scientifically, economically. And when you actually run the numbers, the answer gets uncomfortable fast, and it might be one of the most overlooked explanations for why the galaxy is so quiet. A comment on this channel recently pointed out something most explanations of the Fermi Paradox skip entirely: the math of return on investment. It's a simple idea, easy to overlook next to more dramatic explanations like the Great Filter or the Dark Forest. But it might be quietly more powerful than either of them. Let's start with the speed limit that ruins everything. Nothing with mass can travel at the speed of light, only approach it. And even getting close requires an amount of energy that scales in a way that becomes absurd very quickly. To accelerate a spacecraft with just the mass of a large aircraft to half the speed of light, using our current best understanding of physics, would require more energy than humanity's entire civilization currently produces in years. That energy cost is the first problem. The second, and arguably bigger one, is time. Even a fast interstellar probe, moving at a meaningful fraction of light speed, would take decades or centuries just to reach the nearest star systems. A full colonization mission, carrying enough material and people to actually establish something self-sustaining, would likely be slower still. So here's the actual economic question underneath the paradox. If you're a civilization deciding whether to spend a meaningful fraction of your entire economic output on a mission that won't show any return for centuries, and might fail completely, does that investment ever make rational sense? In 1981, physicist William Newman and astronomer Carl Sagan published a paper modeling exactly this problem. Using the mathematics of population dynamics rather than pure economics. Their argument was subtle. For a civilization to survive over long timescales, it likely needs low, stable population growth. But a civilization with low population growth has less internal pressure to expand outward in the first place. There's no overcrowding, no resource scarcity forcing the decision. The mathematics suggested that, under reasonable assumptions, the wave of colonization across a galaxy could be extremely slow, potentially slower than the age of the galaxy itself. But other researchers have approached the same question from a more directly economic angle. And the numbers are just as sobering. Think about it the way an investor would. Return on investment requires, eventually, a return, some benefit that flows back to whoever paid the cost. But if your nearest neighboring star system is several light years away, any return on a colonization investment, even in the most optimistic scenario, wouldn't arrive for decades or centuries after launch. Compare that to almost any investment made here on Earth, where returns are expected within years, not centuries. Unless the second star system happens to be remarkably close, practically next door in cosmic terms, the economics stop making sense under any normal framework. You're not investing in a new colony. You're gifting an enormous, irrecoverable cost to descendants who may not even remember why the mission was launched in the first place. This changes the entire framing of the Fermi Paradox. It's not necessarily that advanced civilizations don't exist. It might be that expanding across the galaxy is such a poor use of resources that almost no rational civilization chooses to do it at scale, even if they're perfectly capable of it. There's an important exception, though, and it's the one thing that might override pure economic logic: survival. A civilization confined to a single star system has exactly one existential risk away from complete extinction: a large asteroid impact. a nearby supernova, a self-inflicted catastrophe, or simply the eventual death of its own star. Spreading to even one additional system doesn't need to have positive financial return to be worth it, if the alternative being weighed against it is total extinction. Economists call this a hedge, not an investment. You're not expecting profit, you're paying a premium to avoid a catastrophic loss. Under this framing, a civilization might rationally choose to colonize exactly one, or a small handful, of nearby systems as insurance, while still concluding that colonizing dozens or hundreds of systems is financially indefensible. This alone could explain a galaxy that has some scattered, quiet civilizations, without ever cascading into the visible, expansive galactic empire that science fiction usually imagines. There's a deeper problem hiding underneath all of this, one that mathematician and physicist Freeman Dyson pointed out decades ago. Unlike investments on Earth, an interstellar colony can't easily send anything back. Shipping physical resources across light years is energetically close to nonsensical. Whatever you'd gain from the resource would cost more in propulsion than the resource itself is worth. Information can be sent back at the speed of light, but information alone doesn't recoup the cost of the mission. This means interstellar colonization isn't like historical colonization on Earth, where ships crossed oceans specifically because valuable goods could be shipped home afterward. It's closer to a one-way donation. Every colony would essentially become economically independent and disconnected from its origin almost immediately, with no meaningful way to repay the civilization that funded its launch. Compare this to Europe's age of exploration, often used as a loose historical analogy for interstellar colonization. Those voyages, expensive and risky as they were, still made economic sense specifically because ships could return within months or a few years, loaded with spices, gold, or new trade routes, generating profit that justified the next voyage. Remove the return trip entirely, and stretch the outbound journey from months to centuries, and the entire economic model collapses. There's no version of the age of exploration that works if the ships never come back, and nothing of value can ever be sent home. So if you're the government or corporation, or collective of an advanced civilization deciding how to spend your resources, and colonization offers no financial return, minimal strategic benefit beyond a narrow survival hedge, and severs economic ties with whatever you send out the moment it leaves, the rational choice, in almost every scenario, is to simply not do it at scale. This is sometimes called the economic solution to the Fermi Paradox, and it sits alongside the Great Filter and Rare Earth hypotheses as one of the more mathematically grounded explanations for the silence. It doesn't require civilizations to be rare. It doesn't require them to destroy themselves. It just requires them to be rational. There's a strange twist worth sitting with, though. If economics genuinely explains the silence, it means the galaxy could be quietly full of advanced civilizations, each one having independently run the same numbers, and each one having reached the same conclusion. Stay home, expand carefully if at all, and never attempt the kind of runaway galactic expansion that would make us visible to each other. There's one loophole in this entire argument, though, and it's the same one we covered when discussing the Fermi Paradox directly. Self-replicating probes. If a civilization could design a machine capable of traveling to a star system, using local resources to construct copies of itself, and sending those copies onward, the economics shift dramatically. You're no longer paying for every colony individually. You're paying once for the first probe, and the exponential growth of self-replication does the rest for free, in a sense. using resources it finds along the way rather than resources shipped from home. This is precisely why the total absence of any detected self-replicating probes is so significant to researchers studying this problem. If the economic argument alone explained the silence, but self-replicating technology is physically possible, we'd expect at least some civilizations to have taken that loophole. The fact that we see no evidence of it either suggests the technology is far harder to build than it sounds on paper, or that even a self-replicating strategy carries risks, errors accumulating with each generation, unpredictable mutations in code or hardware, severe enough that rational civilizations avoid it too. If that's true, we wouldn't be alone. We'd just be economically indistinguishable from everyone else making the same rational choice. In isolation at the same time. Humanity hasn't run this experiment yet. We've sent probes, not colonies. The math above assumes chemical or even advanced propulsion under known physics. It says nothing about what becomes possible if we ever develop something we don't yet understand. But for now, the discomforting possibility is this. The silence of the universe might not be a mystery of biology, or catastrophe, or distance. It might just be a spreadsheet, beyond the visible, beyond what you can see, but never beyond what you can understand. Subscribe because next time we go beyond again.